Welcome back to the program. So, obviously, today was a very somber day. It was Charlie Kirk's, what would have been his 32nd birthday. He was born October 14th, 1993. And it's actually also my older brother's birthday as well. He was born October 14th, 1969, the day that they landed on the moon. So, pretty significant. But Charlie would have been 32. And to think that he's gone. He's nowhere on this earth. And yes, he is in heaven. And yes, he is with his Lord and Savior. And yes, he is looking down upon us and watching over us. But he's not here. And I still find myself, even a month after, still getting sad and still thinking about him and crying. Because when you lose an important voice like that, a voice that is different from others but also the same, you can't replace that. It's extremely difficult. And there's only so many of us that are willing to be brave and willing to be outspoken and to be able to speak out. This is a pin that they were giving out at Charlie Kirk's memorial in Arizona. And so I keep it because it's a reminder. And of course, I'm got my TP USA shirt on for today. But here's President Trump talking about the great Charlie Kirk.
Still feel the terrible shock and the pain of his loss like just about nobody I can think of. Charlie Kirk was one of a kind. He was unstoppable. And he really was. Boy, when he had an idea in his head, he would call me, "Sir, please, you haven't done it yet." I said, "Charlie, relax. Just relax." He didn't relax. He'd call me the next day again. It got it done. But he was like indomitable and always will be. He's really irreplaceable. Nobody can replace him.
Real quick, what's interesting about President Trump is that when people suggest things to him, sometimes he does take them up on it. I mean, numerous times he's worked and done things that Charlie has suggested, things that Wayne Allen Root has suggested. Heck, even things that I have suggested through the grapevine, through the people that watch the show that are close to him. I don't believe he's watching directly. But I think that there are a lot of people throughout the years, even as censored as I have still been able to watch the show and convey messages. To this day, I'm pretty convinced that he had his inauguration inside and blamed it on the weather because of people like myself and others that were telling him that it was dangerous.
But they're going to do great, but you can't replace that kind of person and that kind of talent, frankly. The word talent is an important word, but that kind of talent. So we hold his memory in our hearts forever. Every single day of this administration, we will continue to carry out the mission for which he lived, and he really did. He lived for this country. He lived for his wife and his family, but he lived for this country, too. In Charlie's honor, we will continue like we have been to fight, 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 and to win, win, win. We're going to win so much. So the Presidential Medal of Freedom is a big deal. You have the Congressional Medal of Honor, military, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is civilian. And the Presidential Medal of Freedom is a really big deal. Very few people get it. Very few people, frankly, qualify. It's a decision of the president, but it's a qualification that's a very hard one to get. And I would like to ask, if I might, the military aide to read Charles James Kirk's citation for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The Presidential Medal of Freedom is awarded to Charles James Kirk. Accepting on behalf of Charlie is his wife, Mrs. Erica Kirk. Charlie Kirk was one of the most influential American political figures of his generation. At just 18 years old, he founded Turning Point USA and grew it into the largest conservative youth organization in the nation. For over a decade, he tirelessly traveled the country leading a movement to restore respect for our founding principles, reawaken our national identity, and inspire a renewed spirit of religious devotion. He was one of the great debaters and communicators of his time. Despite receiving repeated threats, he remained undeterred and modeled courage, logic, humor, and grace to the next generation. On September 10th, 2025, at age 31, Charlie Kirk was assassinated while addressing a group of students. The United States honors him as a martyr for truth and freedom.
He's handing it to Eric. Well, that was part of it. This article actually doesn't have the other video. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. And while I'm doing that, I will tell you a little story about this Presidential Medal of Freedom in particular, this one in particular, and why it is different than all the rest. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Is this? Let's see here. I don't want to do the full remarks. That would be taking up a while, but let me see if I can find it here. 16 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President, for honoring my husband in such a profound and meaningful way. And thank you for making this event a priority amid the peace process in the Middle East. Thank you. Very grateful. Charlie always admired your commitment to freedom, and that's something that both of you shared. So thank you. Your support of our family and the work that Charlie devoted his life to will be something I cherish forever, so thank you. To our gracious First Lady in her office for making this event possible, thank you as well. It's beautiful. To Vice President and the lovely Usha Vance, your friendship has been an unbelievable encouragement. Thank you. And to all our friends and family that are here and watching from all around the world, thank you for loving us. Thank you for praying for us and for believing in what Charlie believed in. And to our Turning Point USA staff and the Charlie Kirk Show staff, we love you more than you could ever know. And to the Turning Point USA chapters that are watching all across America right now, you are the heartbeat of this future and of this movement. Everything that Charlie built, you guys are the legacy holders of that. You are living proof that his mission did not die with him. It lives through you. And Charlie always said the next generation will decide whether freedom endures. And because of you, I know that freedom will endure. It will. And today we're gathered not only to celebrate Charlie's birthday, but to honor a truth that he gave his entire life to defend, and that's freedom. The very existence of the Presidential Medal of Freedom reminds us that the national interest of the United States has always been freedom. Our founders etched it into the preamble of our Constitution, and those words are not relics on parchment. They are a living covenant. The blessings of liberty are not man's invention, they are God's endowment. Charlie lived for those blessings, not as abstract words, but as sacred promises. He used to love to journal about this topic all the time, and with such a heart postured of gratitude. And he believed that liberty was both a right and a responsibility. And he used to say, freedom is the ability to do what is right without fear. And that's how he lived. He was free from fear. He was free from compromise, free from anything that could enslave his soul. His name, Charles, literally means free man. And that's exactly who my husband was. He was a free man. And from the time I met him, sitting across from him, being interviewed on politics and philosophy and theology, anything that Charlie loved, any topic he loved. And I just saw the fire in his soul, and there was this divine restlessness within him that came from knowing God placed him on this earth to protect something very, very sacred for all of us. And he never stopped fighting for people to experience freedom. He didn't. Charlie often said that without God, freedom becomes chaos. And he believed liberty could only survive when anchored to truth. And I remember in one of his speeches, he told the audience that the opposite of liberty isn't law. He said it's captivity. And that the freest people in the world are those whose hearts belong to Christ. But what's so powerful is that Charlie had the ability to communicate so brilliantly across all generations. And he reminded us that in a world that tells us freedom is doing whatever you want to do, the real freedom is the power to live freely and to do what is right. And in one of his journal entries, he wrote that he wanted everyone to know that you can't have liberty without moral responsibility. Freedom divorced from faith eventually just destroys itself. And what's so fascinating about all of this is looking back these past 12 years of Turning Point USA and his mission, there's almost this veil of sacredness. Because what I realize is that while he was building an organization, he was also building a movement. One that called people back to God, back to truth, and a movement that was filled with courage. And ironically, for a man who impacted millions, Charlie never desired to be the center of attention. He just wasn't. My husband was not a man of extravagance. He loved simple but deeply meaningful things, truly. He loved his late night walks. He loved buying more books than he could ever read because he felt there was no such thing as a book budget. And he loved being able to read to our kids the same bedtime story on repeat because he knew it was their favorite. But to him, that was special. And he loved to sit in the sun on a Saturday morning with his cup of decaf coffee, and his phone was off because he was honoring the Sabbath. And for him, it was that moment to catch his breath and just be in peace because he was unreachable at the moment. And he preferred quiet birthdays. But that never stopped me from telling him. I told him every single year, I said, baby, I love your birthday. I said, because it's the day that God knew the world couldn't go another day without you. And so the rhythm of our usual birthday celebration for him was mint ice cream, mint chocolate chip ice cream. He only had it twice a year, on his birthday and 4th of July. It's just, and then after that, it was back to work as usual. But last year, his one birthday wish was to see the Oregon Ducks play the Ohio State. And they won. Oregon won that night. And it was by far one of the most memorable nights of his birthday experience of his life until today. And so, honestly, President Trump, I have spent 7.5 years trying to find the perfect birthday gift for Charlie. And it's so difficult. And those of you that have spouses or loved ones, you know how difficult it is sometimes to buy a gift for someone that you love, because he wasn't a materialistic man, so that also did not help. But now I can say with confidence, Mr. President, that you have given him the best birthday gift he could ever have.
Well, that was the first 9 minutes of it. But getting back to the Medal of Freedom, this is the only Medal of Freedom ever issued that is inscribed with a cross on it, specifically for Charlie. And moving forward, I would hope that they would do that to all recipients, because having that in your life and having it be the centerpiece of your life is going to make you the man or woman that God intended you to be. So my thoughts and prayers obviously go out to Erica and the children and everybody that cared and loved for him. We got it from here. We got it from here. So I wanted to just kind of start with that. And then the other thing that I want to talk about here is what next. Not for Turning Point. I think we know Turning Point is likely going to be in good shape. But what about crushing, dismantling, and smashing these left-wing organizations? Well, Secretary Bassett has a little update for us that I would like to play for you all.
I want to play a clip here that's really important.
This is Andrew Colvett from the Charlie Kirk Show first, talking about a clip with Stephen Miller, and then, of course, Bassett.
Because you're working on a very important piece of this. I wish we had more time for this, so let's just get right into it. 1:36.
Let me tell you something I've not shared with anybody, but the last message that Charlie Kirk gave to me before he joined his creator in heaven was he said that we have to dismantle and take on the radical left organizations in this country that are fomenting violence. That was the last message that he sent me before that assassin stole him from all of us.
So that is a powerful clip. Stephen Miller said something similar when JD hosted the show on the Monday after he was assassinated. And Treasury, I come to find out, coming to D.C., that Treasury has taken an active role in an aspect of this dismantling of the financial networks that are supporting some of these radical left violent groups. Share with what you can. I know it's an ongoing process.
So it's an ongoing process, and I will tell you that after 9/11, Treasury became the driving force behind tracking down the networks of terrorist organizations, how they were financed, how could this have happened on U.S. soil with these international terrorist organizations? Where did the money come from? Who were the ultimate funders? And that was on the international side. And Andrew, I will tell you that Charlie's death is like a domestic 9/11, that we are going to find. It has alerted us to what Charlie knew, that these organizations are working within our borders And look, we believe people have a right to free speech. They have a right to organize. They have a right to protest, but they have to do it peacefully. They cannot embrace violence, and we have seen it. We've seen it since the terrible day 2 years ago, the anti-Semitism and the bias that came out after October 7th, 2023. And many of these organizations have been financed by nonprofits, and it's going to stop. And we are going to, as they always say, follow the money. When you see these groups where all the signs match, they have hundreds of the same umbrellas that they're using. After they cause the mayhem, they have the same lasers that they're using to blind our police force. How are they constructed? Because this takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of organization, and we are going to do that. We have started to compile lists, put together networks, and there's a long record here. And we don't know how much of the support's coming in from overseas. We don't know how much being supported by U.S. nonprofits, C3s that give money to C4s. But this is mission critical for us now. Just as after 9/11 and Osama bin Laden, the ultimate culprit, was captured, we are operationalizing this here at Treasury, and we are going to track down who is responsible for this. So Charlie's death has set this off, and we're determined not only to honor him, but to keep our country safe and to ensure freedom of speech on both sides. That we can't, as conservatives, we can't be afraid to go out and speak. I know people are canceling speeches. They're having to bring down the size of the rallies. President Trump was millimeters away from death, and he was not deterred, and we're not going to be deterred.
God bless you for that. I wish I had.
There it is. They're hitting these financiers and figuring out who they are and what groups they are. So you're going to see some indictments coming from lots of pretty major players. Maybe they'll even take down George Soros himself. I would assume at this point they would, because he's been financing probably 60% of all of this stuff. I mean, there's other groups involved, obviously, as well. But the majority of it is coming from him, and it has been coming from him and his son for many, many years. They have given so much money, okay? And so, we as a society cannot survive if we have domestic terrorists killing our people, killing our messages, and doing all these horrific, evil things. We have to destroy you. You give us no choice, Antifa and the rest of you. We have to destroy you. You cannot survive as long as we are still here because of your violence, because of your rhetoric, because of your deadly assassins that we know are training in Cuba to come back as expert marksmen. I already talked about that a couple of weeks ago. And so you cannot coexist with us. It's as simple as that. And so our government is going to destroy you and is going to find out exactly who you are, where you're being funded, who's funding you, why they're funding you. I think we already know that. And to all the people in Portland and all the Antifa members, you're cannon fodder, okay? Because ICE and the National Guard are going to dismantle and smash you as well. So their days are numbered, okay? Their days are absolutely numbered, and it can't come soon enough as far as I'm concerned. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.